freedom.
Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Top story. YouTube has admitted it was wrong, and Trump has signed an executive order saying, hey, we need freedom, freedom of speech and stuff. So I hear that they're going to be reinstating channels that were removed for COVID and 2020 election fraud commentary. And I have already sent YouTube a message through the YouTube Studio app. These fuckers, hopefully it hurts them. I really do. I have no sympathy for any of this free speech. How do we want to call this? Free speech violations. Because, well, it was the Biden administration. The Biden administration told social media companies to fuck us, to silence us, and to keep us from being able to hear what others have to say. From sharing opinions, from sharing facts, from sharing contrary opinions and contrary facts and arguing about it. Apparently, we're not allowed to think for ourselves. Well, while that has happened, California has passed their anti-free speech, anti-First Amendment law, saying if you say or write or do something offensive in social media, you'll be held accountable with $5,000 fines. The state of California is no longer part of the United States of America, apparently. Apparently, they can't read English, so they don't understand the First Amendment. They don't understand it. But you know what would be fascinating? How quick have the leftists become to run to the defense of Jimmy Kimmel? Oh, yeah, cancel culture's wrong. Right? Folks, they're hypocrites. They're fucking liars and hypocrites. Now, speaking of idiots, today the trial against Ryan Ruth, the would-be assassin of Trump, concluded. The jury took approximately 2 hours and only 2 hours to come to the conclusion that he's 100% guilty. That's right. But here's what Ryan Ruth did is upon hearing the verdict, he tried to stab himself in the neck with a pin after the guilty verdict was read in court. After. Why wait until after the verdict? Did this idiot think he was going to be acquitted? Wow. Truly a big, giant wow. His daughter was in court. She also threw a giant fit as if we're going to feel sorry for her. But you got to know that the Democrats everywhere, and I mean Democrats everywhere, are cheering the attempt to kill Trump. Cheering, because that's what they do. Now, folks, right now, Ooman is out of the studio, and he's on his way back. He'll be back very shortly, so get your questions down below into the comment section. We've got a lot to talk about. Now, YouTube shadow banned us, and then YouTube, killed the original Prepared Mind channel, which had 80,000 plus subscribers. And I've been very clever at how I've gotten back on here. But still, X is no freedom of speech venue. Normally, we have over 100 people by now. Right now, we've got 20 that are here live. What does that tell you? Free speech is under attack. So I can't talk about Palestine. I can't talk about Israel. I can't talk about Ukraine or Russia. I can't talk about Trump. I can't talk about Camel Toes Harris. And she is back in the headlines trying to make herself relevant. Unbelievable. And so Camel Toes Harris, remember her? She was the vice president under Biden. And she was the Democrat presidential nominee who no one wanted. No one voted for her. Less than 1% of voters wanted her in 2020. Somehow she was miraculously nominated, right, as VP, and then miraculously pushed up to the front. You know what's hilarious? It's fucking hilarious about this dumb broad is she just did an interview, and she said, well, she considered Pete Buttigieg, booty juice. That's what Biden called him, booty juice. She would have appointed and picked booty juice, but she said there was a problem. He was gay, literally gay. He's a homosexual. He likes anal sex. He likes to puff on Peters, right? He's a butt pirate. He goes to the bar and he asks other men if he can push in their stool. Pete Booty Juice. Too gay. So instead she nominated, or selected rather, Twinkle Toes Tampon Timmy Walls. As if he wasn't gay, right? Mr. He's been seen around the horse barn. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. Well, Kamala is accusing Trump of being a communist dictator. Let me say that again. Kamala Harris has accused Trump of being a communist dictator. Did someone not remind her that her father actually was a Marxist communist economist? And not only that, but a Marxist communist economist is a serious contradiction in terms. So she should open mouth, which she already did, insert foot, which she has done, and then add a dick and add 6 more dicks. She is a whore for power. But what this is all about, why we're going to start seeing and hearing about Kamala Harris, is she is making a move for the 2028 election. As if anyone is going to like her in 2028, or anybody liked her at all in 2024. Nobody has ever liked her, ever, except maybe Willie Brown, mayor of San Francisco. She used to swing from his Tarzan vine under his desk. Wow. I mean, she didn't get the nickname Dirty Knees for no reason, right? But she's not going to go away, folks. Pete Booty Juice was, quote, too big of a risk. She wants to call Trump a communist dictator. It sounds like she's a homophobic Nazi, fascist Nazi, homophobe, demofruit, home freak of a Democrat. Anyways, hypocrisy, Democrat, be thy name. Get your questions down below, your comments down below. We've got a lot to talk about. Folks, I don't want anyone to back down. Do not back down to these people. The Democrats, Antifa, any of them. They're liars and hypocrites. Remember how we were told that right-wing violence, it's the biggest risk. This is interesting, folks. Our man in the mainstream media, Scott Jennings, has notified the Federal Bureau of Investigator, the director no less, Cash Do Nothing Patel, because former piece of shit fired and deranged Keith Olbermann made a threat to him. Yeah, that's right. He made a threat, a couple of big threats on Twitter, and they were screenshot instantly because, well, he turned around and erased them. But what was the threat? To a current mainstream media guy, Scott Jennings. He's the guy on the news who is pretty good at arguing with Democrats and making them look stupid. Or maybe I should say he just argues with them and they make themselves look stupid. But the threat from Keith Olbermann is, quote, "You're next, motherfucker." I guess right-wing violence isn't the biggest risk and the biggest threat in this country, considering transgenders, homosexuals, and Democrats are the ones out there threatening people and committing acts of violence, murder, and mass murder. So I think we have a correction here. Left-wing violence is real. Their threats are real. Their incitement to violence is real. Their dehumanization is real, etc., etc., etc. And I think it's because communists or Democrats are communist sacks of shit. Prove me wrong, right? Prove me wrong. All of the Democrats are losing it. But I'm finding it fascinating that more Republicans are actually standing up and fighting back. And we should. And by right, we should. All righty. We got Uman in the studio. Get your questions down below to Mr. Uman. But for example, right, a lot of people are like, I've got a lot to lose. I've got my reputation. I don't want my family to know what I believe politically. I don't want to blah, 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 making excuses. And it's okay. I get it and understand. But imagine if you were wealthy. Imagine if you were powerful or famous or all of those things. Well, golf legend Phil Mickelson, and he is a golf legend, a golf pro, right? He's got fuck you money. And he is saying that Ilhan Omar needs to be, quote, sent back to Somalia. My thing is, be like Phil. Do not be afraid. You don't need to have fuck you money or be a golf pro. Just be brave and stand for America, stand for freedom, stand for America first. Right? The more of us stand up and fight back, the better off we are. The more of us yell, scream, write, and of course use intelligent argument. Once you use intelligent argument, they have no choice but to just start cussing and making fools of themselves. And the left are making fools of themselves. Now, we heard about Jimmy Kimmel, who is a fool and then made fun of himself and, made fun of everyone else and then made a fool of himself. He got pulled off the air. Well, they tried putting him back on the air. ABC did, but guess what? Sinclair Broadcast Group, which owns various television stations, said no. And now Nexstar, which is another syndication company, has joined the Sinclair Group saying no. Now, here's the question I have. Can Democrats, these whining, sniveling Democrat bitches everywhere, not just the elected ones, can they keep blaming Trump? Can they keep blaming you and blaming me? No. Now it is businesses are looking at Jimmy Kimmel saying no. And I can tell you why. Because they weren't making money off of him. I can't remember who it was. They took a picture of a spoon and put the spoon picture on X and said, let's see if my spoon can get more likes than Jimmy Kimmel. And the spoon got literally millions of likes. And Jimmy Kimmel doesn't get anything, right? 190,000 watching his show. Anyways, Democrats are idiots, folks. I know that's not news, but just in case you thought maybe it would change. Yeah. Oh, nothing changed. They're still idiots. And speaking of idiots, let's talk about Chuck Schumer, a.k.a. Upchuck, and Hakeem Jeffries, a.k.a. Discount Obama, a.k.a. Dollar Store Obama. Trump basically told them to pound sand, right? They're trying to shut down the government. Then they tried begging for a meeting with Trump. So Trump has basically revealed their ridiculous, retarded demands to keep the government open. Well, I tell you what, Republicans control the House and the Senate and the Oval Office. There shouldn't be any problem keeping the government open. Now, of course, what does that spending in the bill look like is something else. But I think that Trump should entertain them. This is what I think Trump should do. He loves to insult people, so why not? He loves making fools of other people, so why not? Trump should demand that they apologize for being liars. First and foremost, just a blanket apology to America. You want a meeting with me, I need you to stand up and apologize for all the lies they've told. And then when they've admitted that, then tell them to fuck all the way off, right? When they get to the end of that road, make a left, and then just keep fucking off all the way. You know, it's quite a world we live in, folks. Get your questions down below. We've got a lot to talk about. Remember how we had Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and we were told the president should have come out and de-escalated everything and said, tone it down. You know, let's tone it down, de-escalate, right? Well, the Democrats haven't. In fact, they've turned it up. And a godless, freaky fruitcake of a Democrat who is also a pro-abortion protester showed up to TPUSA's, that's Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA. This fruitcake showed up at a TPUSA campus event, the first since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and was chanting, "Erica Kirk has got to go." I'm sure it was a hey, hey, ho, ho, Erica Kirk has to go. You know, one of those rhymes that only retards can manage to say and feel smart doing it. But this could also be looked at as an act of violence or an escalation or a call to violence. Erica Kirk has got to go, says this fruitcake. Folks, never stop criticizing Democrats. Do not be nice to Democrats. Do not be kind to Democrats, because they lie and they have zero intention of being civil. They have zero intention of being intelligent. They have zero intention of thinking. For me, I am not Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is a nice guy, or was rather. He was kind to these morons. He was generous to these intellectual fucking troglodytes. And I'm not Charlie Kirk. I fight mean, and I couldn't care. I couldn't care less to be nice to the enemy. And, well, John, are the Democrats the enemy? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. The political violence in our country is coming from the left, whether it's expressed in attempts to shoot Trump, threats to politicians in Washington at the state level, threats, insults, and attacks on people, free people, right? They destroy people's lives, their families, their businesses, their jobs, their careers. They vandalize property from houses to cars. There is nothing nice about these fucking people. Why should I be nice to them? I know we're in a war. It's part of World War III that has been started, which is not just tanks and bombs and jets and soldiers. It's a psychological war. It's an economic war. It's an educational war. And it's a political war. I don't fight to be nice. I fight to defeat. The only way you can win, folks, is by defeating an enemy. You don't be nice to them and then expect them to what? Surrender? No. They will never surrender. They're being beaten intellectually. Charlie Kirk was whipping the shit out of them. Benny Johnson whips the shit out of them. Steven Crowder whips the shit out of them. They, intellectually. Do they quit? No. Do they give up? No. Do they apologize? No. Now, a lot of people, the younger ones, that have an open mind, if they have an open mind, listen, and some of them have changed their lives. And that's great. I don't see that as my job. As an American who grew up under the communist threat of nuclear annihilation, I was taught, I was trained that you kill communists, that you defeat the enemy. And if it's a domestic, not a wartime enemy, then you defeat them as roundly and soundly as you can without violence, of course. I'm not out there beating anyone or shooting anyone or killing anyone. I'm not calling for violence or mayhem or anything bad, but I will defeat them in the arena of ideas and the arena of insults, etc. I will point out their ignorance, their stupidity, their hypocrisy, their fucking lies, and the fact that they're a bunch of perverted, sick Satanists who are obsessed with death. So let's just tone it down. Not a chance. Not a chance. All right, what do we got? We got about 10 minutes left of my stuff, and then I want to get to your stuff. I am a peace-loving man. I will live in peace if I can, but I have been told, thank you, Mr. Uman, I've been told, right, that I'm going to be harmed, that I'm going to be attacked. I've been attacked. I've been harmed by these people, so I don't need to be nice to them. These left-wingers are violent. So the asshat Democrat, the Trump hater who shot up the ABC affiliate news station in Sacramento, this left-wing lunatic, this communist-loving fruitcake, was talking shit, and he left a note. He left a note threatening Trump officials. You know who they were? Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Dumbass Blondie. And what he wrote is, they're next. You see, the right wing is violent and a threat. Oops, sorry, I meant, once again, I'm going to have to correct myself. It's Democrats who commit acts of political violence and are politically motivated to hurt people. Understand, right now it's being focused on Trump. It's being focused on the administration. But what do you think it would take to turn around and focus that on you? Not much at all. Right? I think everyone in America knows. I say yes, we really know the left are violent and their lies don't work now if they ever did. So when they can't win an argument, they turn to violence. So, let's talk about the big one. Over $4 billion in damage to American cities and businesses by Black Lives Matter, by Antifa, which is now designated as a domestic terror organization, and they should be identified as an international terror organization. Their funding should be frozen. Those that fund them should be investigated, and they should be told, Antifa is a terror organization. You send them one more dollar and you get to go to prison. But get this, folks, right? These people are that violent. If a policeman, Derek Chauvin, is trying to arrest a criminal, the criminal is on drugs, the criminal has an overdose reaction, the criminal dies, and they blame the cop. But who did they go after? That's right, they went after you. They actually did come after me. They went after everybody they could. They blamed all of America. They blamed white America. They blamed Republican America. They blamed rural America, suburban America. They came out of their ghetto, out of their slimy little holes, from under their rocks, their bridges, and they started burning down businesses, looting businesses, killing people. Burn, loot, murder, BLM. We didn't have anything to do with it. You didn't have anything to do with it. So when I say they're violent, yeah, they talk about Trump. They talk about Bongino. They talk about Patel. They talk about Pam Bondi. Right? In fact, I think Pam Bondi is the only appointee of Trump that the Democrats aren't openly talking about all the time and asking to have fired because she's incompetent and an idiot. I've got no respect for her or Patel, and Bongino lost it a long time ago. Now, when they can't get to them, they know they can get to you. And that's the point. They're going to shoot up a television station. They're going to threaten high-level officials. They can't get to them, but they can get to you and me. Understand that. Understand that. Chuck Todd. Do you guys know who Chuck Todd is? He's a loudmouth. He's a fucking Democrat. He's a moron. But he had a meltdown. Surprise! Over Trump. Surprise again. He does it. But why? Why is he having a meltdown? Because Trump said Antifa is a terror organization. And then Chuck Todd proves that he is a complete fucking imbecile and says, I don't even know what Antifa is. That's a fucking lie. We know Chuck is a full retard. He's gone full retard. But even retards, folks, can tie their shoes. Even retards have a basic understanding of concepts like Antifa and BLM set fire to the nation and burned, causing $4 billion in damage. Retards know that. So I think that now Democrats are even less intelligent than retards. And I feel bad for retards. It's not like that's their fault. But Democrats, it's their fault for being as retarded as they are. Folks, again, I'm not going to be nice to people that want to kill me and you, that want to kill Trump and kill other members of the government. Right? But that's what they're left with. No argument, they resort to violence. And then they want to say the right-wingers, you radical right-wingers, are the problem. I don't remember hearing about any of you guys doing anything violent. Now, talking about idiot Democrats, the Department of Justice is now charging another, yes, yet another idiot Democrat. What was he trying to do? This was an attempt to assassinate or kill President Trump. Marine One is the helicopter that flies from Andrews Air Force Base over to the White House, transports President Trump. Right, you got Air Force One's the jet, you got Marine One is the old helicopter there. This guy was trying to use a laser pointer while Trump was on board to try and make it crash. I guess shine it in the face of the pilots or disable their equipment. Oh, yeah, another right-wing. No, not right-wing. Yeah, oops, sorry. Let's try that again. A left-wing Democrat. Yes, Democrats are left-wing, folks. And they are the violent ones. Yes, I kind of get confused. No, I don't. I'm never confused. Every single time, bar none, something completely ridiculous, stupid, and violent happens, Democrats. I mean, if there is right-wing violence out there, I promise to be honest, have integrity, stand up to my word, and point out what was done. Now, I don't know that it would be justified ever. It might. I don't know. But I have to see it first. I have to wait for some sort of right-wing violence. Now, as we started out this show, cancel culture or consequence culture got slapped right in the Democrats' faces. And they didn't like it. But then we started noticing that, well, Democrat businesses were firing Republicans saying, well, we don't like that you support Charlie Kirk. I mean, our values are not similar enough and you don't get to work here anymore. Right? So first the Democrats are being let go. Then Republicans were being punished for being Republicans and not saying anything mean at all, just trying to be complimentary and empathetic to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But that is now over, folks. Consequences are over. There are no consequences. Everything is now absolutely politicized. You can celebrate the assassination of your political rivals and opponents. At the United States government level in Washington, D.C., a State Department employee celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination in a profane, that is to say, a rant with bad words. Well, at least the intent is to sound bad. This person wrote, "The world is much better with him gone." Now, he's not the only one that is avoiding the consequences. And this jackass may get fired ultimately. But right now, many colleges are allowing professors, assistant professors, and students to continue their employment or their education. In schools, teachers, staff, businesses are refusing to fire morally bankrupt, scumbag Democrats. Understand, folks, understand the fight. It's SHTF. And ultimately, it's us versus them. And once this turns violent, it is not going to be pretty. You need food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You need your plan. Understand the world. This is the world we're in now. Can you believe it? Can you fucking believe the world we're in now? Well, let's do this. Let's do and go to the inner circle on this fine Taco Tuesday and see what you guys want to talk about. And we're back. Good thing I can't be fired. I work for me. Mr. Uman, what do we have? We have Mike E.G. And he writes, burning their own neighborhoods and then complain of a grocery desert, laughing out loud. What Mike E.G. is referring to is these morons from 2020, these Democrats who burned over and destroyed over $4 billion. That's a lot of burnt businesses, homes, and government buildings, police cars, private cars. They started in their own neighborhoods. And then they moved into other people's neighborhoods. They got on buses. They tried starting fights and starting riots. When they showed up in rural America, those people met them with guns. And a couple of times, people got shot. But there is a rule out there in the country. It's the 3 S's. Shoot, shovel, shut up, or shut the fuck up. But yeah, they burned their own neighborhoods down. They looted their own stores. But since 2020, Democrats, in all their shapes, sizes, ages, and colors, continued to go to stores and steal from them. They continue to go to stores and do flash mob looting sessions. Even when they weren't doing that, they were doing individual theft where they would go into a store, no matter what it is, clothing store, electronics store, variety store, and load up their shopping carts and run out the front door with it. Tell everyone to fuck it. They just steal everything. And the police would let them get away with it. The district attorneys would let them get away with it. The judges would let them get away with it. So companies either never rebuilt their burned down stores, never repaired their looted stores, and have shut down their pilfered stores and said, we're not going to lose money to satisfy the entitlement retarded mentality of these ghetto slime. And so, yeah, now they have no grocery stores because, yeah, they're robbing grocery stores. In fact, I watched a video of a child standing in front of the candy section at a CVS pharmacy. And there were locks. There are little doors and locks on every shelf. I'm surprised that the parents there didn't start smashing them open to steal the candy. But the look on the kid's face was, oh my gosh, we can't even get candy. Everything's locked up. Actually, you can get candy. You just have to get someone in the store to go over there and open it for you. For me, folks, I will not shop at a store that treats me like that. That would assume that, well, I guess if I shopped in neighborhoods where it's full of ghetto slimes like Jasmine Eyelashes Crockett, I would expect to see that. But if I were to walk into a store anywhere that I travel and see that, I would assume it's an unsafe place. An unsafe place. And I would probably just turn around on my heel and leave. All right. Thank you, Mikey G. Great start for this Taco Tuesday on the Prepared Mind channel. Who's up next? And I want to thank everyone for being here live with me on the preparedmind.club. You guys do a great job supporting the channel. And speaking of great support, it's Chin Music. He says, I remember when Limbaugh used to call Call him F. Chuck Todd. Truly ahead of his time. Interestingly, folks, back when I got out of the Marine Corps, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh. And I thought, who is this guy? He's got a big mouth. But he was entertaining. So I listened to him, and I thought, he makes sense. I'll listen to him some more. And I got to realize and understand he liked to do things and say things that irritated his own listeners. And I thought, that's odd. Why would someone try and piss off listeners since that's your advertisement revenue you get? Well, as much as it pissed off some people, aka Democrats, it wound up and riled up his supporters. So in a lot of ways, I emulated and have duplicated a lot that Rush Limbaugh did. Right, I'd smoke cigars, had to kind of give those up a little bit for health purposes. But I would also drink scotch. And we do that on Sunday Night Live with you guys. You know, Rush Limbaugh was a genius. He was truly ahead of his time. May he rest in peace. There's one issue that I always had with the man, though. In discussions about this thing called the national debt, we used to talk about how it wasn't a big deal. No, national debt's not a big deal. That's not very much. It's not a huge part of the gross domestic product, the GDP, the value, blah, 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 blah. Not a big deal. Well, after 2000, once we crossed the $1 trillion mark, it became a big deal. And it is exponentially going. It is what they call a hockey stick. It was just going along flat, and then it hit a sharp turn under Reagan, but it's gone full vertical tilt. Trillions of dollars a year now. Wow. All right, Chin, very good. Thank you for bringing up Mr. Limbaugh. Like I said, truly an inspiration for me and probably a shit pile of people, including radio announcers and podcasters. Good stuff there. Good stuff. Mr. Uman. Who are we going to discuss next? We've got, what's the topic? It's bad ass diving frog. And he says, John, Wile E. Coyote contributes more to the economy in the way of factory, trucker, and delivery jobs than a leftist. I actually sat down and watched a Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote cartoon last night. I was literally thumbing through YouTube channel and fuck, there it was, a Merry Melodies cartoon. I had to enjoy that one. Anyways, yeah, Wile E. Coyote does things, right? He spends money. Yeah. What do the leftists actually do? What do they actually do? I know there's a lot of billionaires that are leftists, like Mark Cuban. Right? They're out there, and they support, their business. They support the party and all that. But what does the everyday run-of-the-mill street Democrat do? I know there's some in the trades. I know that, the building trades, construction trades. But the youth, the Democrat youth, I don't think there's much left of them. They're not going to go anywhere. They don't have any drive. We're talking about the millennials and the Zoomers. They don't want to work. They think they shouldn't have to work. They think they're smarter than everyone else. They think they're qualified where no one else is qualified. And I've been having that argument with them for over a dozen years. That they think that they should be the CEOs and executive management of corporations. So, the ones that do work, they work as coffee baristas or customer service. They don't do a whole lot. So therefore, they're never going to move up and become supervisors and middle management or executives. They're not going to make money. They're not going to have enough money to contribute to the Democrat Party. So who's going to support the Democrat Party members and Democrat messages and causes with money? They're losing that money. In fact, the USAID money that the Democrats have been stealing for decades and funneling out to non-government organizations and charities, only to have it laundered and then, well, sent back to Democrats. Right? The Democrat Party's in big, big, big trouble. I think they saw that coming. I think they recognized it. Not all Democrats are absolutely retarded. There's a lot of smart Democrats that want to see America destroyed. I think they realized, oh shit, we just created a bunch of communists who aren't going to go out and work and contribute to the Democrat Party. So we need to bring in a bunch of these left wingers. And I think it's almost a ridiculous statement to say someone like that Mandami asshole in New York, who is both an Islamist or Muslim and a communist. It's weird to say communist Muslim, but it works because you know what they want to do? They want to use communism as the excuse and the justification as a economic system to steal the property of rich people and then give it to themselves, of course, because that's what communists want. They want to take everyone else's shit and give it to themselves. Yep. You know what's funny is Wile E. Coyote. If it weren't for those cartoonists, he would probably catch the Roadrunner after a couple of episodes. Thank you, Mr. Typing Frog. Oh, man. What's the next topic on the board? And it's Redneck Roughneck. I love that you guys always just pepper the hell out of all the topics so we get to discuss everything. He says, we had a nice communication fiasco taken down in New York today. They had a large SIM server going. What he's discussing is because of the UN, United Nations meeting at the UN building, the Secret Service discovered a bunch of SIM servers, a bunch of equipment, high-tech, high-dollar, powerful equipment that's designed to interfere with cell phone service, probably makes and gives the ability to hack into people's phones, interfere with them. Very interesting that the Secret Service actually did their job. I wonder if it was to protect Trump or to protect other politicians from shitty countries like France. And speaking of that, while trying to take his motorcade and get through to the UN building, the French President Emmanuel Macron, who's fighting for what little integrity he could possibly have because of the attacks saying his wife doesn't have a dick or wasn't born with a dick, even though she did groom him as a minor, literally, old enough to be his mother. But Macron had to stop. His motorcade was stopped in New York City because Trump had to pass. I think that's funny. And then Macron was forced to walk to the French embassy. But what I want to know was, did Macron stop at the Blue Oyster Bar for some dancing with the boys, if you know what I mean? This guy is a fruitcake. All of these people are fruitcakes. But yeah, there's communications out there, communications equipment designed to interfere with and steal your data, your information, your passwords, to listen in on you, to read your emails, who knows what else. Yeah, got taken down. Thank you, Redneck Roughneck, for bringing up that information. Good stuff, I tell you. There's a lot of bad stuff going on, and it's good that we're getting to talk about it. And what do we got? We got 15 minutes left, folks, on this Taco Tuesday. You can guess what I'm having for dinner. I tell you. What a world. What a world. Mr. Uman, what do you have in mind? In fact, I know you, sir. I know you had a busy day. I was just going to say, I know you've got something to talk about. He says, I love the meme, quote, Bridget Macron post picture of proof she's a woman. And it's a aluminum or magnesium wheel that has just been completely shredded by grinding it against the curb, scuffed up, right? Like she's She was like, see, I can't drive. I must be a woman, right? It's some hilarious stuff. But apparently she's got pictures. She's, hang on to that thought, please. Apparently she's got pictorial proof that she is a woman. Now, I don't think that's admissible in court. Nope. How do we know the doctor's not lying? How do we know it's not photoshopped? How do we know it's not artificial intelligence? How do we know that anything that Brigitte Macron would provide is to be trusted? In fact, she may have gotten, or he may have gotten that surgery to make him look like a her down below. It's really simple. A genetics test to demonstrate whether Brigitte Macron is really Brad Macron or not. Right? XX chromosome or XY chromosome. It's that simple. And send it to 3 different labs with DNA material from another dozen people. So the labs don't know who is who and which is which. And I would be willing to accept that, providing both sides, the plaintiff and defendant's attorneys, are well aware of what number on each one was the real Brigitte Macron. So Uman says, I like Trump calling out the Green New Deal scam today. Kudos when deserved. Well, Trump went to the United Nations, as stated a few moments ago. He walked into the lobby and he went to stand on the elevator with his wife, Melania. And as soon as they stepped on it, the escalator stopped. Trump had to walk up the escalator. Interestingly, an escalator can never be broken. It can only become stairs. And that, my friends, is actually a joke of Mitch Hedberg's. Mitch Hedberg, a comedian, died years and years ago. But yeah, an escalator can only become stairs. They're never really broken. So then Trump tries to speak, and the teleprompter went down. 2 acts of political sabotage at the United Nations building. I think Trump should have said, you know what? The United States of America is no longer going to fund the United Nations. Fuck yourselves. He did insult the shit out of him for it. Yes, he did. And he did call out the Green New Deal, all of the climate hoax crap. He called him out on it. And you should have seen or read the responses coming from these world leaders at the United Nations. They did not like him calling him out. Yeah, kudos when he does a good job. I will congratulate, support, and stand behind Trump. Say stupid shit like the Jeffrey Epstein files is a hoax, the whole thing's a hoax, I'm going to excoriate you for it. I'm not going to put up with that kind of lying. But today he did a great job. He insulted the United Nations and he called the building and the organization a dump. You know, broken escalator, broken teleprompter. I would look at defunding them right away. In fact, I think it was it Mike Smith? I think it was a congressman proposed that we leave the United Nations after that shit. Can't remember his name, but it was a relatively famous congressman, though not a name that we call every day. You know, he's not a Big Marge. You know, he's not a Chuck Schumer. He's not at that level, but still, I don't know why we're giving them money. I don't know why. Why are we supporting that? I think the United Nations building should be sold out from under the United Nations. Let some other countries support them. I'm just sick of giving our money away. There are American veterans who need medical attention, who have health problems that make my health problems look like a joke. Right? There's veterans that are homeless. There's sick people in this country, and a lot of them are Democrats, but they're homeless people who deserve our money more than other countries deserve our money. I'm tired of being generous to the world when what does the world do for us? What has Europe done for us other than give us the bill for NATO and the United Nations? China is no longer helping us. They're not buying our bonds and supporting government, government overspending, government deficits, government debt. China is no longer our buddy. Russia definitely isn't our buddy, and why would they be? Israel, all they are is a vacuum cleaner sucking the money out of this country and essentially giving their marching orders and talking points to everybody they funneled money to. I'm not an Israel fan, folks. I'm not a Palestine fan. I'm not a fan of anyone. I'm an America first American. And that's how it should be. Fix our problems here? Great. Make America that shining beacon of freedom and constitutional rights, the shining beacon of limited government. And we can talk to other countries after that. But here we are. Thank you, Uman. Very good. Great topic, man. Great topic. What else have we got out there? We got just under 10 minutes. A lot to talk about. And Diving Frog says, it seems that Newsom is trying to push through the mileage tax in California. What a bunch of bullshit. See, it's a tax. Yeah, it's more taxes. It's yet another tax on top of a California tax, on top of a California tax, on top of another tax. You see, states charge you money to register your vehicle. What has the state contributed to you? Nothing. You had to pay for the fucking car. You paid a tax when you bought the car. You buy tires, you pay sales tax. Get an oil change, you pay sales tax. You replace anything, you pay sales tax. You register the car, you got to give them money every year. You're telling me it's $300 for that little fucking plastic sticker that has the next year on it? And then when you go to buy fuel, you pay a fuel tax to both the state and the federal government. For what? Well, that's what we got to pay for the roads, John. Okay. Well, which one of my taxes is the one paying the roads? Because the roads are shit. Even in Florida, roads are shit. I love how some states make fun of other states. Like California got shit roads. Yeah, well, I drive over the border into the next state and their roads are shit too. Okay. It is a shit. Now, a mileage tax on top of everything else. Look, you pay for supposedly your registration has to do with the weight of your vehicle and the damage it does to the road. Well, I mean, if I drove my F-350 turbo diesel, extra cab, long bed, super heavy duty truck that came in just under 10,000 pounds and I had skinny little tires, that'll do more damage than the big balloon tires I've got on there, right? That spread the weight out, don't do much damage. Well, what about little cars? Like a fucking smart car or a Prius, right? They got itty bitty little tires are super lightweight. How do they make these determinations? Fuck it. Let's just go by miles. It's a new tax. Everything is always a new tax. Climate tax. Oh, wait. Speaking of the Green New Deal coming out of the UN, that bullshit. One of those bureaucratic sacks of shit was screaming that they have jurisdiction over the United States of America. Screaming about it. That, the United Nations has a right to tax people, and burning petroleum is a crime unless you pay their taxes. Why don't they say something like that to China? China. Anyways, I just don't like any of them, folks. I don't like any of them. Let's have some fun here. Let's see what's up in the news. Kamala Harris went on The View. And it was a complete shit show, by the way. She's a fool and a moron. And there was a great video out today. It was, it was one of those most whatevers in the world, right? The most nonsensical person in the world. Let's see. Could this pandemic... No. Jeffrey Epstein This is, I flipped over to the Gateway Pundit here. Jeffrey Epstein reportedly threatened to, quote, destroy Prince Andrew and his squeeze, Sarah Ferguson. So the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, wrote an apologetic email. Well, wow. I guess her reputation is pretty much trashed on that. So I guess Jeffrey Epstein was going to reveal some damning information about Prince Andrew, who is in a photograph, by the way, with the now deceased Virginia Roberts or Virginia Giuffre. You know, one of the girls who said Jeffrey Epstein basically sold her to rich bastards like Prince Andrew and others. So Jeffrey Epstein, who committed nothing more than nothing. It was just a hoax, folks. He did not traffic girls. No, he never did that. Apparently, he threatened royalty in England, the Duchess of York and Prince Andrew. And now her reputation is paying for it, while Jeffrey Epstein, I guess, is in heaven, right? Jeffrey Epstein's in heaven because it was all a hoax. He was falsely accused. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. And another story here, folks. Let's do this. So let's just keep going on this one. Let me scroll over to this other website. Trump's designation of Antifa as a terrorist organization means that all of the allies of Antifa are now under legal threat. There are people in big shot jobs and high positions, people in positions of power and wealth that claim to be part of Antifa. Kind of, I think there's a Muslim attorney general. Is it the state of Minnesota or Michigan? Who's holding up an Antifa pamphlet? How can an idea make pamphlets? Interesting. And the other night, I talked about the football game where a very large, and I described the guy as morbidly obese. He fell on another player, much smaller than him. So then he got up, jumped up in the air, and did a giant belly flop on this smaller kid and broke his spine in 2 places. Well, the high school athletic association didn't do anything. But after all of the media attention we gave them, they decided that they were going to take, quote, strong and decisive action. But they couldn't tell us what that was because the player is a minor. I thought we just couldn't say their name. I thought we just couldn't put their faces out. But now they're telling us that we can't know the punishment. That was strong and decisive. I wonder if they contacted Pam Bondi and said, can you give us a strongly worded letter to show this young guy who jumped up in the air and crushed a child, another kid, breaking his fucking spine in 2 places. This guy needs to be charged with a fucking crime. He should have been kicked out of the game. He wasn't. He should have been kicked off the football team. He wasn't. He should have been expelled from the fucking school for committing an act of violence that was so egregious that he broke someone's spine, not once, but twice in 2 different places. Folks, this a lot of people are saying is a hate crime. I don't believe in hate crimes, but I do think that there's a possibility it was a racially motivated attack or just someone being a bully and an asshole. I'm sick of it, folks. But what can you do? Well, what we can do is contact your congressmen, your senators, contact Trump at the whitehouse.gov, whitehouse.gov, and tell them what you think about any of these topics, things that are important to you, and demand they do their fucking jobs. And in Michigan, either the police department or the sheriff should be looking into this and pressing fucking charges because it was not an accident. When a big, giant, fat fucking slob jumps up in the air, goes horizontal, and flops like Shamu the fucking whale on a little kid. This is junior varsity and a big giant. This guy looks to be at least 400 fucking pounds. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. I tell you, folks, chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Semper Fi, and I'll see you guys 0 dark 30.